Well, Jim, did your players pay the cost of being a bit complacent today, do you think?
I don't think it's to do with complacency. I think I just thought we were... It's the same issues we had in the first half against Altrincham and we had against Hereford. And the bottom line is, in the last 2 home games, we've lost 4 points now because we can't trust a centre forward to mark a centre half on a corner or a free kick.
As you say, I mean, that seemed a really poor goal to concede. As a former centre half yourself, it must be depressing to watch that go.
Well, you know, we've tried to arrange the set plays in a way that allows us to use spare players effectively, and most of the time the spare players are dealing with corners. But there comes a point, there's a couple of little soft spots within that structure where you're expecting people to mark, and if somebody runs across the front of you, you'd expect them to defend better than, say, somebody that runs off the back of you. But Frank let Reed score against Hereford, and Niles let Miles Addison score today, and you know, our spare players can't pick up that change, and that's what's really disappointing for me, because the front players are not doing enough to win us the game. So the least I would expect of them is to play their part in making sure we don't concede.
Did Nuneaton surprise you at all today, given that, particularly I thought at 1-1, the aggressive nature of their play? They still went for it, didn't they, today? Well,
no, it didn't surprise me. I mean, you know, we've spoken to people at Bradford and watched the videos, so you know, it's very. You'd be a fool to think, oh, they lost 6-0 last weekend, that they're a poor side, they're in free fall. Sometimes people are galvanised, but as I said in my programme now, it's a lot of respect for Nicky as a coach and Lee Fowler. And when you look at a group of players, they've got something about them. I mean, you look at their front two, and they were far better than any combination of our two, in terms of leading the line, getting them up the pitch, and the other one running the channels, and you know, creating opportunities. So, and they're experienced players, and they've cost a few quid. They're coming from the league, those players. You know, but one of the problems they've had is the conceding goals. So we weren't surprised that they played 3 centre backs. I talked about it in chat before. With Miles Addison coming in alongside Carter and the other lad, we expected a free. We expected a holding midfield, Wazilowski and the other lad Courtney. They've got something about them, and they were just going to probe and prod. And with a front two like that, you've always got a chance. Obviously with a bit of physicality. We expected all set plays to be outswingers, so I thought we should have dealt with the outswinging corner better than we did. But it's like our combination play has been poor again today, our crossing's been poor today, and our set plays have been really poor. You know, I can't remember the amount of times we took a set play, whether it be a direct free kick, cross free kick, or a corner, put it straight in the keeper's hand. So I'm then we're chasing different strategies, and the bottom line is we could have scored from Adam Thomas in the first time, we could have scored Frank. So when the ball's on the money, we look threatening, but when the ball's not on the money, then I can't do anything about that. But I certainly can't mark people for the players. I can't put the ball where it should go. You have to trust that they've got the know-how to do that, and unfortunately we've got some players who need the quality of our performance against Altrincham was nothing to do with the way we played. It was about we were structured, organised, and did all the dirty side of the game well. And I think perhaps because it was Nuneaton, perhaps because it was 10 men, perhaps because it was 2-1 up, perhaps some of our players took liberties in thinking that you didn't have to do the dirty side in the game. And we paid the price for that.
And given that, I mean, you're probably presumably not surprised then at the reaction from the home fans at the end of the first half, the end of the second half, and even the booing of the man of the match today. It was a strange atmosphere, wasn't there?
Look, it's no surprise to me. I've had people behind me. I've got a player, one person saying, "Spread the game, open the game up, keep care of the ball." Yeah, look, I think that we could probably do with everybody sitting down, fans, boards, everybody sitting down and talking about where we're at. Because I think that people are thinking that we're more than we are. I think. You know, we've made statements on BBC about we're full-time next year, and that's not been decided. I think we feel that we're further. you know, we've got to remember that Nuneaton are a full-time side. Forget about all the problems. So they've got full-time players. They've got an opportunity to work with the players every day. They've got full-time fitness. They've got players that are attracting from the league because of that. So I think we sometimes I think we don't always take stock of where we're at. I don't know what they're doing. Are they booing the quality of the performance? Are they booing the fact that we were up against 10 men and let it slip? They weren't booing against FC United. They weren't booing against Altrincham. So that's fans fear, you know. I think I said before the game, and I've said all week, that we haven't kept a clean sheet at home, and I can't blame the defence for that, because up front we've got too many players that don't do enough to keep the ball, to connect properly, and then if they do lose it, to get it back. And if you allow a team that's sort of set to counter attack, whether that be Boston, whether that be Hereford, then we're going to pay the price for that. But there's a few bits and pieces wrong, and no matter how much I've done in training, I can't improve certain players that much, so we just have to work with them and let them play the way they are. And I think the fans shouldn't be surprised with some of our performances, because we've seen that quite regularly for them over the months, and perhaps last year as well.
Surely Scout was here watching it today. It's not the best preparation, is it, for facing the league leaders, although they were beaten today?
Yeah, I'm not really bothered about Chorley. You know, people have been mentioning Yeovil and Chorley this week, and I said, forget that. We've got to concentrate on getting 3 points today. Now we've trained really well, and I think it's a false thing. I think this is where I think that we perhaps another thing that our fans have to realise is that our lads have been training really well. I think we've been performing away from home really well, and yet when they come here, we seem to make mistakes. We seem to be very nervous, and we seem to play with a bit of an edge. Now, and no matter how much I say to the players, I'm beginning to think whether that's the psychology around the stadium. We've got a lot of fans in the Cheadle end that I think are very positive, and they are supporters. They're very supportive of the team. But I think around the ground, I'm hearing comments, and I think some of our players maybe are getting affected by the culture that's gone around. So we have to be. There was no moaning when we were winning 2-1. There was like a nice atmosphere. Everybody's enjoying it. But like I said, that's something perhaps that we need to address. But we'll get Tuesday out of the way, and then we're on the road for a couple of games. So we'll see if, because away from home we seem to be a team that seems to do things a little bit better and a little bit more, I don't know, just a bit more solidly. And perhaps that's a factor. But we just have to make sure that we perform well at home and keep everybody on side. But like I said, on that point, I've got people moaning about what I'm doing when we're winning. So what chance have you got? How can you? It's not the most positive environment for us all to work in, and it's very de-energising at time. And you know, but look, that's football. That's the world we live in. People are just so demanding. If you're winning, they want to win by more. If somebody's beating somebody 6-0, they think we should beat them 6-0. And that's just not how football works. If a team's beaten 6-0, you know the next time that they're going to make a lot of changes, and they're going to galvanise themselves. They're going to play with a lot of character. And you know, credit to Nuneaton, because they didn't look like a side that got beaten 6-0 last week. They look like a team that's working really hard to keep their head above water and doing all the things professionally. And I said that before the game in the talk across the road and in the changing room. Have a lot of respect for these lads. They've probably had to drive up here. They've had to get their own pre-match meal, and they've dug out a performance because they've played for themselves really, and for the team secondly. And so in that sense, you know, congratulate Nick for what would be a heartening point in the circumstances. But I can only lament some of our failings in the team. And like I said, perhaps it's a question for the board to realise that we've had a taste of what young professionals, full-time players bring, as opposed to more battle-hardened part-timers or the quality full-timers that are out there. And you know, ultimately that's where we're at the moment, and we've just got to work really hard. It's 7 games unbeaten, but unfortunately centre forward's not marking centre halves, and we've lost 4 league points, and it's not really and you think about the 2 points we dropped at Telford last minute, and then the 2 points we dropped, you know, I think people can look at league position and make a lot of judgments based upon that, and they would be right to, because points lead to prizes. But I still think that we're only a small touch or 1 or 2 players away from being a good side.
Well said. Thanks for your time.
Welcome.
Super.